everyone at Lake Boga, Piangil and Kerang schools. It's Adam here, and I just wanted to, follow up with a little video resource for you. Not only as a bit of a reminder about the content that we worked through on our professional learning day together, but also a bit of a reminder of the way that you work together also and what we're hoping to achieve by working together in the long term. Because what we're on about is not just providing, as I mentioned, a nice PD day. We're really interested in making sure that we get some momentum, we get some traction, we get some change, and we get some focus on culture around your schools. So what I wanted to do today, I guess, was to remind you of the content of the day first of all, and that was very much around how we could start to get restorative practices going in your schools. And the first session of the day, I guess, was starting to think about putting our restorative goggles on and starting to view the world through the restorative lens. And then the next part of the day was about what is that lens, what is the restorative practices framework. And so we looked at three key instruments for restorative practices, and probably best to dwell on those for just a moment, as they are the operating domain. So the whole idea of how we can have a frame that balances firmness and fairness in the way that we work, that we could reflect upon really simply. So those four boxes in there are those two with four not, and I think I mentioned we want those top of mind for us. We want to make sure that as we move forward, there's been lots of conversation about whether we're in the two box, the not box, the four box, or what the desired location is for us, which is the with box. And remembering though that there'll be times when you're forced out of there and there'll be times when you slip, and it doesn't matter, provided you can use this frame to actually say, how will I map my way back to the with box with some sort of consistency. The with box, as we know, is where we're demonstrating respectful behaviours, and it's certainly where we have a position of high authority in the classroom, but we've taken it in an authoritative way rather than an authoritarian way. And we've done that by establishing really high expectations of our students, but we're marrying that with really high supports and lots of encouragement for them to reach that expectation. The next restorative instrument that we referred to is probably that continuum that runs from informal to formal, and there are 5 steps along the continuum that allow us to deal with different levels of behaviour and different levels of difficulty with some sort of consistency. So at the very informal end, we've got those effective statements, which is just quickly chuck in a feeling, but we agree that while there's a low time investment there's actually an incredibly high frequency of those behaviours that we need to deal with. So it's just a matter of you doing something really quick and easy, like throwing a piece of language that's around feelings, that's around affect. The next step along is those effective interactions, those quick one-on-ones that, we might need to spend 1 to 3 minutes on. And what we're trying to do is to take it from past to present to future as quickly as possible. What was that all about? How do you think that's making people feel? What are you prepared to do about it? The next step in the middle of the continuum is probably those small impromptu conferences for my favourite cohort, the Year 6 girls. And what that's about is saying, can we spend a little bit of time, perhaps 9 or 10 minutes in a P3, F3 kind of way, so that we can actually move those conversations forward that usually get stuck and very anchored in the past. Not only do they take a really long time there, but what we're actually doing there around that time thing is dispelling that myth of restorative practices taking too long. But we also end up with really low impact from those conversations. So the great part is when you can structure them to move from past to present to future, we actually start to get some impact from those conversations that we can rely on. The next step along the continuum as we start to move more formally is the large group stuff, and you're all fully qualified to do that now through your check-in circles, your check-out circles, your preparation circles, your response circles, and then your learning circles. So give them a go, have a bit of a crack at those, and I would love to hear how you're going. So remember that you're in partnership, and that you can email me and let me know how those circles are going, and I'd love to provide you with a little bit of a feedback and a little bit of guidance as you get better and better and better at those. And then right at the formal end, we've got that idea of a formal conference for the most serious things and the things that happen in our schools and school communities that have the highest level of negative impact. So we've got a way of dealing with that quite seriously. High investment of time, but a low frequency for that level of problem. And then we've got that third restorative instrument, which is very much the restorative questions. So remembering that while you've got them there on those little cards, they're not there for you to use as a script. And I want you to feel full license to be creative with them, to have a go with them. You don't need to get them out and read them every time somebody does something wrong. That you can move quickly and rip a couple of questions out, but you might pause and add a couple of questions as well if you think it's worth doing with a young person. I'm going to trust you with that. Be creative about it and have a go and see what sort of results you get by leveraging the relationships that you already have with your students. In the last session of the day, we really, got our hands dirty. We started to look at practically what are the frames through which that we could view student behaviour that sit under that restorative umbrella. And probably the two things it's worth having a quick reminder about is, first of all, that golden rule that every behaviour has a meaning and a context. So a meaning in that it's a young person trying to get, avoid or achieve something, and a context in that the behaviours occur very specifically to the people and the environment around that behaviour. And remember also, we have incredible control over that context. So you could deliver one strategy from a different point of view, or deliver it in a different way and get a completely different outcome. So don't always be really quick to throw the strategy out. Start to think about how's context at play here, and how could I use this well thought out strategy in a different way to get a better outcome. And then we also looked at, I know that one thing that people really picked up on was Joe Lang's t-shirts, and the idea of exploring what the motivation for certain behaviours might be is what those t-shirts allow us to do. So whether it's look at me, whether it's help me, whether it's make me, or whether it's a you'll pay student, we're able to say, okay, what's sitting behind this behaviour? And it gives us a chance to come up with responses which can be consistent, as opposed to reactions which are always, by their emotional nature, very inconsistent. And then what we did was look at how we can actually start to move forward with that. So the footage that you're looking at now is you guys having conversations, and I want you to actually start to think about how you can continue to make that happen in your school, how you can continue to contextualise what it was that we talked about when we got together for that day of professional learning that is not supposed to be nice. And I want to finish this video here today by doing something that you've probably forgotten I did, and that's ask you for your 15-second commitments. So I really hope that these are things that you've started to get going on. And if you haven't, well, it's not time for a slap over the wrist, it's just time to get started. So look, I really enjoyed the day. I thank you so much for the way that you engaged and the way that you worked together on the day, and the way that you really jumped in at the deep end with some difficult and often sometimes provocative concepts. You did a fantastic job, and I can't wait to meet up with you all again and hear about the distance covered. I'll talk to you soon.
I'm going to just start being me with the kids and start enjoying them to the full. That's what I'm going to do.
Remember, firm and fair, just try and stay with and just get these expectations high.
Start circle time first up and get the car park meeting going. Be great.
I'm going to make sure I don't engage in tennis. So when kids want that argument, I won't be having it.
I'm hoping to be able to start engaging with circle time. I feel that by the time we teach the kids that might be something that we can help manage to keep our classroom calmer.
I'm going to change my don'ts to do's, and I'm going to learn and reflect on the operative, what do you call them? Domains.
Well, I'm not going to waste time with kids that their issues are longer than what they need to be. Adam said 3 minutes and 3 minutes and 3 minutes, so I'm going to do that and save time.
I am going to commit to discussing restorative practices with other parents at our school.
I'm going to commit a whole school approach to ways of working with repeat offenders, having an agreement that they sign and having them know what explicit consequences there are if they repeat.
Look at the perpetrator before I look at the victim, because every time there's a problem I go straight to the victim, so I'm going to look at the perpetrator.
Grade 5, 6, I'm going to use the past, present and future 3 minutes so we limit the minor issues.
I'm going to work on my time management skills. So I've got more time for my family and think about the present, not the future so much.
I'm going to reflect on different strategies that were taught today and implement them in the classroom.
I'll probably be using the check-in and check-out circles. I think that'll be a good way for the kids to communicate with us how they're doing, things like that.
Use the t-shirts more in understanding the kids, in working out what t-shirt they're on and why they're there and how to move on from there. But the t-shirts, I think, are fabulous for understanding kids.
I'm going to use the car park meeting. I really like that as a really good idea and a strategy so the kids have a voice in the classroom, and to also stop those little mini discussions that go on that interrupt your precious time.
I'm going to apply what I've learnt today to help me manage my staff in a way that's acceptable to me.
I have a meeting with our so-called bully in the school and his mother, and go through and ask what some of the impacts that they work through the restorative process with him, and hopefully he can actually see the effect it's had upon his mother and family.